because so many don't talk about their struggle, even when they desperately need to talk with somebody, go to somebody and say, hey, I've got some challenges. I need help. I don't even know where to go. They don't do that because if I admit to this, I'm going to be blackballed. I'm going to be terminated.
I'm going to get fired.
Yeah, this is going to have.
It's very fear-driven.
Yeah.
I think this is all rooted in the fact that we haven't, as a society, we have not fully accepted the fact that addiction is a disease.
If you're listening to this and you know someone who works in an HR department at any company, whether it's your company or you have a family member who works in HR, please share this episode with them, because I really think that, again, planting seeds of this doesn't have to be black and white. There can be a solution for this. Hey everybody, welcome to the episode today. Pretty excited. I got my day one co-host here, Dr. Terry Sellers, is joining us here in studio. And then I also have Sean Morris. Sean, introduce yourself a little bit. Tell the listeners about you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's great to be here and kind of, have this fun, as you call it, with you. So, but yeah, I'm,
it's not fun yet.
Come on. No, it's already fun. Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh-huh. And so I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I'm also a substance abuse professional and a certified employee assistance professional. And I do several things. I work for a treatment program called Wasatch Crest, and I've been doing a lot of clinical work and working with organizations and first responders and lots of different things to provide help and provide direction and hope for people that are trying to figure out how to.
Sean's a stud, man. I get the opportunity to work with Sean. So I work at Wasatch Crest as well. And we're going to get into this episode on kind of the stuff we've been doing the last couple of days and really spread some information and education about some topics that I bet a lot of people maybe haven't thought of, or maybe there's some concrete thinking in some areas. And we're going to get to that. Welcome to the show. Thanks for telling us a little bit about yourself. And
cool.
We're going to dig more into that. Doc, how you been, man?
Oh, I'm good. I'm just, me.
You ready for some hot golf?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of cold golf. I can't stand it.
Well, I'm pretty sure tomorrow, our tea time, it's going to be plenty warm for you. So
I think the high tomorrow is in the mid 90s down here. So I love that.
Look at that smile on his face.
I love that.
He's
I
ready.
do not like 40-degree weather.
Yeah, buddy.
Can't
I'm excited
stand
for it as well.
Yeah.
Hey, before we jump into the meat and potatoes of this episode, we want to spread some love to our sponsors. This wouldn't be possible without them. You mentioned the first one, Wasatch Crest.
Wasatch Crest.
Wasatch Crest is a leading provider of addiction and mental health treatment, nestled in the scenic mountains of Park City and Heber, Utah. Their 4 mountainside facilities offer a full continuum of care, including residential, in-person and virtual IOP, transitional living, adventure therapy, family support, and alumni aftercare. What really sets Wasatch Crest apart is their treatment elevated approach. See, they separate men and women's programs that are personalized and tailored to each client's needs, backed by a passionate staff of over 50 professionals, many in recovery themselves. Contact them by reaching out at 385-644-1500 or check out the website. It's wasatchcresttreatment.com if you want to learn a little bit more. So there's the tagline.
Beautiful.
Organically, one of the things that I want to share about Wasatch Crest is it really is in one of the most beautiful places. Like the little line for mountainside, where is it? Nestled in a scenic mountains of Park City and Heber, Utah. That does not do this place justice. I tell the clients all the time, and maybe I should knock this off. Somebody's going to tell me to stop doing this, but I say, you're going to feel like you're going to celebrity rehab.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't believe me, go to the website.
Right.
Go to wasatchcresttreatment.com, click on facilities, and take a look at them. They are gorgeous. And that's the outside looking in. I'm sure Sean could speak more to the clinical stuff, equine therapy, some of the adventure stuff that's in the tagline. I saw a picture of a group doing some rappelling.
Yeah.
Like that stuff's it's pretty awesome, man. Pretty sweet. Doc, if you know where the facility's at?
I do. Been to the facility. It's lovely.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had 4 facilities, so I haven't been to any of the other 3. But the one I've been to, if you've never been to Heber, you got to go to Heber. Heber's just gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
It's really a really pretty place, and these guys have a really nice location. So, Yeah, it's pretty nice, no question.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's okay, right? You're not a celebrity. You don't have to be a celebrity to go there,
Right.
but you feel like one.
Yeah.
In the surroundings, and that's totally fine.
When I did the tour, first of all, it looks like a dollhouse. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like 4 levels tall. It's huge, big. It looks like the friggin' White House, right? It's literally white. And then next to it, literally just walk out where they eat, right? The cafeteria, I don't know what to call it, the
dining
eating
room.
hall, dining hall. And you're walking out into tennis courts, basketball courts, trails that go in every direction, beautiful landscaping around you. Yeah, it's super cool. The basement, they got like a freaking Gold's Gym size
That's cool.
fitness room down there. I mean, I was super impressed.
I get up there a lot
impressed.
just because not exactly Wasatch Crest, but I play a golf course up there that's very close to Wasatch Crest. And
Next time, stop in.
I've got, let's go play that course.
Let's do it.
I've got free golf at that course. So that's what's cool about
You're
it.
telling me you have free golf somewhere?
You know what's
and
better
you've
than
been holding
golf?
out on
You know
me?
what's better than golf? Free golf. That's the only thing better than golf. Yeah, I got free golf at Homestead.
Yeah.
Which is
let's
Crater
do it.
Springs, which is, I don't know, they rename it every 6 weeks or so. I don't know.
I'll take you and tour you. We'll tour Wasatch, which
Yeah,
is the
that'd be
men's
great.
location, and then Jupiter, which is the female's location. Jupiter, it's the most modern. Like it's
I've not been to that one, so I'd love to see that one for sure.
Very modern, very bougie is the word that
Also
kind of
in
comes
Heber?
to mind. Yeah.
Park City.
But sorry, Park City.
Park City's.
Yeah. To me, it's all the same. It's all mountainy.
It
up
is kind
there.
of all the same too. Those of us that don't live there, but
Yeah.
but Park City guys don't like Heber guys, and Heber guys don't like Park City guys. So
Is that
well,
it's
the
like
Heber
a gang
guys,
rivalry up there?
the Heber people think Park City guys are snobs because some of them are.
Gotcha.
I mean, there's a lot of money in Park City,
Yeah.
and there's a ton of money in Heber too, but
Yeah.
Heber originally was all locals. Like it was just Heber, and Park City was Californians and, a bunch of people that built houses there.
Right.
Like Tiger's got a place in Park City.
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't have a place in Heber,
Got you.
but
It's good to know.
yeah.
Yeah, those locations, they're impressive. The women's facility, you can see Olympic Park from there. You can see Park City Mountain Resort at any time of the year. Of course, it's beautiful this time of year when, all the mountainsides are green and all that sort of stuff. But even during the winter when there's lights on the Olympic Park and all that sort of stuff, you can just see all the excitement, all the adventure that is right there surrounding you. And
All the
Wasatch, of course, it looks down over Midway and then up onto the backside of Mount Timpanogos.
Right.
And yeah, beautiful
pretty up there.
locations any time of year.
So Sean, are those of people who are listening, what you serve Wasatch Crest in a couple capacities. One of those is being kind of the outpatient clinical director. So a lot of people might not know that because I didn't know that. Like I'd heard of Wasatch Crest before I worked for them, but I didn't know that there was an outpatient. Is that fairly new to the program? What in the tagline it mentioned in-person and virtual IOP. What does that look like?
Yeah. So no, we've had outpatient programs for some time, and certainly a full continuum of care, which is an important aspect of helping clients be able to step down from one level of care to the next, which is an important part in overall long-term lasting recovery. Is that you're engaged and continuing to work through various levels of care. In respects to IOP, intensive outpatient, we do have a virtual program, which is awesome in the fact that, just like this podcast, we can, do things that,
Reach people anywhere.
Yeah, reach people anywhere. So with the virtual IOP, we can reach people anywhere and people can get help and have the support and can do that from, a location that's convenient to them. But also some people are in areas that, don't make it real easy to get to treatment and various other aspects that they can do from, the community they live in or the situation where they don't have the means to get to a particular location. So, and we've got a great program
going. Your virtual IOP.
Yeah, I think the virtual IOP was started during
since COVID.
Yeah.
Well, that makes some sense. You're
Like everything, right? Everything turned virtual during COVID.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not totally on the clinical side of things, even though I'm a physician. So I guess I am, but I'm not a therapist for sure. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm board certified in addiction medicine, not really a psychiatrist. So, I know I was headed somewhere with this. Oh, A lot of times with that I have seen in stuff when I pay attention to billing, because I don't pay attention to it and I hate it. But a lot of times when you get a single case agreement from a particular insurance company, it's because that service is not available where they live. And so they're coming to the closest place. They don't have insurance that covers your place, but they don't have anything close to their house that's the same. So a virtual IOP would solve that problem really well.
For sure.
I mean, you can serve a whole bunch of people that just don't have access to treatment.
Yeah.
Not only is it more convenient for the people that are going, but it's also makes it possible for some people to access treatment that wouldn't otherwise be able to.
For sure.
So that's cool.
Absolutely.
As long as they have some access to internet.
Yeah. You know what else Wasatch Crest has?
Talk to me.
And we love them. We appreciate Wasatch Crest sponsoring this podcast. They also have a little app from Team Recovery.
Oh.
Let me tell you a little bit about Team Recovery
yes,
here.
please do.
Team Recovery builds custom apps for all types of treatment providers. The app helps with referrals, admissions, client retention, and tracking outcomes post-treatment. If you have a treatment agency and want to learn more about Team Recovery, and all those things sound fantastic, give them a call at 866-824-2281 or check out their website at teamrecovery.io. One of our other sponsors that we work very closely with is Diamond Detox. Diamond Detox, let Diamond Detox be the first step on your path to hope, help, and healing. Call toll-free 385-988-5332 or visit their website at diamonddetox.com. Man, what a good little group of sponsors there.
You got the whole thing going there.
Yeah, we got the detox, we got the technology, we got the treatment center,
virtual IOP, you got IOP, you got residential treatment, you got detox,
and then we got some nootropics.
We need some supplements, I think.
Absolutely. This episode is also brought to us by Rise Up Supplements.
Okay.
Rise Up Supplements is a nootropic line aimed at optimizing brain function and supporting mental health. They have two powerful blends. Mindful Mood helps decrease anxiety and enhance mood. It's kind of the brake on the neurotransmitters. Mind Shift helps increase focus and optimize brain function. It's the gas pedal of those neurotransmitters. Place your order at riseupsups.com. If you want to save 20% off, punch in podcast 20 in all caps. That'll save you 20% off on your entire purchase. That was maybe the coolest little sponsorship mentions just rolled.
Right. There you go.
Thanks for the hype up, Doc.
Yeah, got you hyped up.
Yeah.
Do you have a nootropic that you got the gas and the brakes? Do you have one that goes in reverse?
No, I don't even know what that
you don't have like an anti-aging supplement. That'd go in reverse maybe. Work on that for me.
Yeah.
Get that going.
I'll send you a potion that you just rub all over your face every night.
Sure.
and then when you find out what it is, you might want to fight.
When my skin turns purple. Yeah, I can see it.
Sean, welcome to the craziness that we call We Do Recover.
Awesome.
I forgot we were doing a podcast. Jeez.
Yeah, good stuff. Fun. So one of the things today is going to be information and education. This podcast, we do different types of podcasting. Oftentimes the staple is people will come on and share their message of recovery. Now, I got a message, and I committed to doing this a couple episodes ago. If you reach out and send us a message on social media or send me an email, however you can reach us, and you have some feedback or you have a comment, concern, whatever, we're open to it and we want to talk about it.
Absolutely.
One of our listeners wrote, I don't understand why you guys have people come on and live in the past. And I get that. They're like, if you talk about the past, you stay stuck in the past. Thank you for writing that. I get that perspective. Alternative thought. This podcast is really about sharing experience, strength, and hope. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, one of the things that goes hand in hand with substance abuse is this terminal uniqueness. Mm-hmm. Like we think we're so different than everybody else. And so when people share their stories with me, when they did, like Dr. Sellers, before we even really officially kicked this thing off,
right,
it spreads a message of hope that if somebody who was an OBGYN, very successful, went through an addiction to morphine,
only dropped 10 babies,
can make it out, maybe I can too. That is the sole purpose of this podcast. That was the original form. So thank you for writing in. We appreciate the comment. I understand we don't want to live in the past. However, we want to share some experience, strength, and hope and let people know If you were tackled in a parking lot because you were shoplifting, there's been people that have done that too.
Yeah, talk to
and
us.
they've been successful about it.
Yep.
If you were a homeless person for a period of time, there's people on this podcast that have been that too, right? Like it's about relatability and being able to know that like there's a way out.
And I would push back on the commenter because we talk about this almost every episode. Almost every single episode when we have a guest, we talk about we don't want to spend too much time on the backstory.
Yeah, the mess.
We really want to focus on what successful recovery can look like. That was in our intro
the solution.
A while back. We want to focus on that stuff. We want to know the backstory, though. We just don't want to glorify the backstory, and we don't want to spend most of our time on the backstory. We want to spend most of the time on what are you doing now that you're in recovery? That's awesome.
Well said. So. And also, just thank you for listening. Right?
Yeah,
Appreciate you reaching out in a comment.
Well, Sean, can I
please
take this train off the rails for a minute?
Let's go.
You know, that's my
choo choo.
Here
we go.
I just met Sean like a minute before we started the podcast. So
he came in like panting and sweating because he ran here.
I ran here.
Yeah, I learned he's a therapist, and he's your outpatient clinical director, and that's like what I know about Sean. Now he looks like a guy that doesn't eat like I do. It looks like he eats a little better than I do, and
probably doesn't drink as much Dr. Pepper as you do.
There's nobody on the planet that drinks as much Dr. Pepper as me, but looks like he's a little healthier than me. But tell me a little bit about yourself, not so much clinically, but who are you?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that because that was something as we kind of moved on, I was like, I don't know that I really told anybody anything that would be of interest to them, right? Nobody cares, like, oh, I've been a therapist. Okay, good.
Well,
what
people
else?
care that you're a therapist, but tell us about some other stuff.
Yeah, other stuff. Let's see. So I'm married, been married for almost 27 years.
Nice job.
And
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you for all that. And have an amazing wife, and that that probably goes without saying that we're approaching 27 years. So
sure.
And I've got 4 kids, and things that and then things that I enjoy. I enjoy sports and love to watch sports, and played a lot of sports when I was younger, and now I like to both mountain and road bike and run. And so, I like to eat, so I have to do those things.
That's why you look so good. You run.
Yeah.
He's an endurance athlete.
Okay.
Yeah, you can tell, right? I mean, he looks.
Yeah.
Have you run
I wouldn't
marathons?
consider myself an endurance athlete.
Have you run marathons? Have you ever run?
I have.
How many marathons have you run?
If you run farther than the refrigerator, in my mind, you're an endurance athlete.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you can make it out the front door.
Yeah. So how many marathons have I run? I've probably run.
Gosh, he has to go back and count.
Well, I'm not sure.
You know how long it would take me to count that number?
Yeah.
A big zero.
Big fat zero. That's
well, the different question is, how many marathons have I enjoyed running?
Okay.
Now that would be like the zero.
Okay. Well, at least I respect that.
Yeah. So how many marathons
because if
have
somebody
I enjoyed
tells
running?
me they enjoy a marathon, I question their sanity, frankly.
Yeah, that's about zero. How many have I run? I don't know, in the neighborhood of 30 to 40.
Wow.
That's how many I've run, but how many?
What's the biggest marathon you've run? I don't mean longest because I know they're all exactly the same length. Did you run Boston?
St. George. I haven't run Boston. No.
Okay.
No.
I rest on my earlier statement, endurance athlete. 30-something?
30-something
Dude.
marathons? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you may as well.
Over
be the
what
Tiger
period of time?
Woods
How old were you when you ran your first marathon? You remember?
I don't know that I remember that, but not all that long. I didn't grow up as a runner. I as I mentioned, I enjoyed other.
What was your favorite sport growing up?
Baseball.
Okay. And where'd you grow up?
I still have a dream to be a professional baseball
You're going to
player.
make it.
Thank you.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dude,
It's coming.
MLB, here we come.
Any day now,
Yeah.
the Yankees are going to draft you.
Yeah, and I've got quite a significant Uncle Rico aspect to myself. So I still like to live in the past and tell stories
Sure.
and
Sure. Absolutely.
help my pound for pound.
Where'd you
all
grow
that
up?
Sort of stuff. Yeah, I grew up in Bountiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Bountiful Braves. Did you play for? Did you?
So
go
I
to
I
high
did
school
not
in Bountiful.
I did not go to Bountiful
You went to-
High. I went to Woods Cross.
Okay.
So I'm a Wildcat.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's maybe one of the few mascots I didn't know. Woods
Oh,
Cross.
yeah?
Is it Woods Cross the name of the high
Yeah,
school? Woods
yeah.
Cross Wildcats. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sellers is really good at that personal stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
He's going to ask you what you got for your
What'd you get for Christmas when you were 12?
When you were 12.
Yeah, no, you're asking me a lot of questions. I'm like, I cannot quite remember that. But
What's your wife's name?
my wife's name is Jolie.
And how old are your kids?
As of next week, 24 down to 17.
Wow.
My oldest will turn 24 next week.
Wow. Awesome.
He's a blessed guy.
He is a blessed guy.
for sure.
What pushed you to become a counselor, a therapist?
Yeah. So as far as becoming a therapist, I wanted to save marriages ultimately.
Okay.
And so as I mentioned, I'm a marriage and family therapist
Right.
because and that was, I knew I wanted to be a marriage and family therapist because I wanted to do couples work. And at that time it was like, I just want to, help people
Sure.
succeed in marriage. And of course the divorce rate is extremely high. And I thought, let's change that. Right.
Well, let's be honest too. In Utah, it's a big thing. Culturally, it's like, it's a very big thing.
It's a family-oriented
due to the
state, for
faith
sure.
and due to the culture.
No question.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
So just like you becoming an OBGYN
Right.
and wanting to
In
practice
Provo.
in Utah because
Right.
babies are popping out everywhere, right?
It's a great place to be an OBGYN,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, I've got some more questions, but Jared's over here dying, so I'm going to ask a question that's going to make Jared happy.
I'm cool as a
No,
cucumber,
he's dying,
baby.
dude. He's dying inside. Trust me. Trust me. I know. I've known him for a long time. Jared mentioned you guys have been recently going around to maybe some businesses, talking to businesses about, maybe what they do when they discover one of their employees has a problem with an addiction. And I think that's really the direction that the podcast wants to go right now is that
Correct,
sort
sir.
of, huh?
Correct, sir.
Well, I'm trying to read Jared's mind. I'm trying to not just go with my instincts because my instincts are to get to know you more and more and more. But
Then people start turning off the podcast.
oh
more
no,
and more
they
and more.
don't. But this is a cool topic, right? I
Yeah.
mean, Jared talked to me a little bit about it before you got here, and it's a really interesting topic, right? Because a lot of times, if somebody in a company gets discovered as having a drug and alcohol problem, the response from the company is "See ya," right? You're out the door.
Oftentimes, yeah.
That's not a helpful thing.
Yep.
I'll tell a quick personal story is when I was working in Provo as an OBGYN with the busiest group in Provo, and Provo is an incredibly busy place to deliver babies. And my senior partner discovered that I had been abusing opiates. And his response, this is an interesting response. I didn't get fired. He told me, you can still work here. I had just been made partner. You can still work here, but we're going to cut your salary in half. That was a really helpful response for me. That's like, yeah, great, perfect. I just bought a house based on the salary I was making.
Sure.
So I'm working really hard and working so hard, I'm getting a bunch of migraines, which is really how I got started on the morphine thing. And so your response is, oh, you can stay working as hard, but you're only going to make half the money. Oh, that really helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was
Shows you their
it was
motivation too.
completely unhelpful for me, right? I kept using. I didn't quit right then.
Why do you think they
for
did
sure.
that? What were they hoping? Were they
don't
thinking
know
you would
that
leave?
answer.
I mean, what
I
was the
don't know
purpose
that
of
answer. That's
you
a
can
very
stay, but we're going to
interesting
reduce
question.
your pay? That's kind of interesting.
We're going to cut your salary in half.
Yeah.
I just bought a house. I couldn't afford the house
Yeah.
if my salary was cut in half.
Of course.
And I wouldn't have bought that house if I'd have known. Now, listen, I'm not saying I didn't deserve what I got. I just don't know that the motivation's right. It wasn't very helpful for me.
Yeah.
Nobody offered to, hey, let's see if we can find you some help or get you some
course.
treatment, or that wasn't offered to me. And so it would be a really cool topic to talk about kind of what happens when a company discovers that they've got an employee that they like. Now, if they hate the employee, termination, okay, you can use the addiction as an excuse to terminate a guy. Great. That's a terrible reason to terminate a guy, but you can use it if you want. But let's say it's an employee that's a good employee that has stumbled onto a problem.
Yeah.
He has chronic back pain. He can't focus. He's got some problem that we all have, and he's found a solution to it, which worked for a minute for him.
And now it's bleeding over into work.
What should companies do in that instance? Maybe it's not bleeding over into work. They just discovered it on a random UA and nobody knew.
Yeah.
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 And your response is, nobody knew, but we're going to fire you. Your work performance is exactly the same. We haven't noticed anything, but we're going to fire you. It's different if the work performance has changed, right? I can see why in that instance you might consider firing a guy because he's not doing the job that he's been doing. But I also don't think that's the right solution for a person with addiction. But what should a company do?
Well, thanks for sharing your kind of personal example or situation with this. And I think let's just kind of use that for a second. The motivation that an individual can have when their employer is motivated in their steps towards healing, recovery can be significant. And so rather than punishing that individual, like in your case, well, the punishment was, well, we're going to cut your pay. Mm-hmm. Instead, there could be an approach to say, hey, you know what? We're committed to helping and supporting you. And we want to see you get through this. And let us help you be able to take the necessary steps so that you can overcome this and continue to be the valuable member of our team. You just became a partner, it sounds like, is right. What you shared. So obviously you're contributing in a significant way. So let us help you be able to, and that can have such an impact on an individual, far greater than oftentimes any other, relationship or situation in their life. They may have had, a partner, a spouse begging them to get help for years and years. And it's now now that it's become kind of at the awareness of the employer that person says, you know what, I got to do something. And I appreciate the support to do it.
Yeah.
The team at Diamond Detox is compassionate, helpful, and trained to support every step of the healing journey. Your loved one's path to a healthier, happier life starts with a free and easy 20 to 30-minute assessment over the phone or a few questions submitted online on the Diamond Detox website. Assessments and admissions occur 7 days a week, depending on availability. To begin the path to recovery, visit diamonddetox.com or call 385-988-5332.
So, yeah, and the thing that I really like about Sean is his background is he worked for a company who basically kind of helped.
I worked for, I've done a lot of stuff in the employee assistance space.
Yeah, employee assistance space. And as I'm riding around with him, I'm like, this guy Sean's a genius, right? For a number of reasons. One of the things he talked to me about is the recovery safe workspace.
Recovery friendly work.
Yep. Recovery friendly workspace, right? And I just love this because, and I'll let him share a little bit more on that, but honestly, the last couple days, I really feel like we're planting seeds to change the way the HR directors view substance abuse. Talk to us about the recovery-friendly workplace.
Recovery-friendly workplace, yeah. So, so many organizations have a no-tolerance policy, and they're not really sure why they have a no-tolerance policy. They don't necessarily have a lot of expertise or have really thought through what exactly the policy is. It's just they know that, hey, well, we don't want employees using substances, and if they are, probably bad things are going to happen, and so we have a no-tolerance policy, which, as we were saying earlier, that doesn't really help an employee. One of the most difficult things for an individual is if they've got a struggle already and then now they're going to lose their job, that just,
you could kill a guy.
Compounds everything.
That could kill a person.
Yeah. So, a lot of organizations are like, you know what, if there's an alternative, there's something else we can do here, let's learn about it. Let's do it. And that is, it doesn't mean that we excuse the behavior. It doesn't mean we excuse the fact that somebody, had a positive drug test or, admitted to using substances or was found using substances. It doesn't excuse any of that, but it gives them a chance to be able to start the process of healing and recovery, and it doesn't automatically remove them from their employment. Now, could they end up losing their job due to, not responding to, not,
accepting
their performance, not accepting help? Sure. I mean, all those sort of things, an employer, may have to say, you know what, look, we've tried, but, you're not interested in the efforts, but, but many will be and say, you know what, hey, I love my job. I want to keep my job. This is a big part of who I am, my identity, all that sort of stuff. When an employer can say, we want to see you succeed, we want to help you, and really approach it from the same kind of perspective that an employer would with any other healthcare concern. You look at if an individual came in or, found out that they'd been diagnosed with some sort of, medical situation or condition, every employer is going to say, "Oh man, we are so sorry. How can we support you?
You have
How can
cancer,
we help
you're
you?"
fired.
That's ridiculous to even say, right? I mean,
Right.
that's like, who
You
would
can't
ever
manage
do
your
that?
blood sugar levels.
Yeah, you're fired.
fired.
Yeah. I mean, no one would. And so it's almost even feels inappropriate to even say that, because no one would do that. But yet when it comes to this type of an illness or a struggle,
Most
it
people
happens
do it. Right.
most of the time.
Right.
Go ahead. I was just going to say that. So that compassion that is there for these other conditions, as we mentioned, obviously we go on and on listing different scenarios, but that same compassion is needed in this type of a struggle as well, when somebody's struggling with substance use. And that, extending that compassion, that, hey, we're here to support you, we're here to help you, you matter to us, that goes so far in somebody's opportunity to, take that step into recovery and progress. And then the commitment that an employer often has a real impact on that person's success and outcome.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what I want to do is respect the places that we went to today and not say any names, but kind of talk about.
You don't want me to blurt them all out?
No.
Every one of them? I wrote a list down that I can just read them off if you want.
But I do want to talk about kind of some of the scenarios and some of the situations that we ran into today. And because I think this would be good for the listener, if you're listening to this and you know someone who works in an HR department at any company, whether it's your company or you have a family member who works in HR, like, please share this episode with them, because I really think that, again, planting seeds of this doesn't have to be black and white. There can be a solution for this. So first of all, a lot of the places when we went and I shot the question, hey, if I worked for you and you found out either because I showed up and you smelled alcohol in my breath, or my supervisor was concerned, or there was, what do you call it? Reasonable suspicion, reasonable suspicion, or I failed a drug test. What would the result be for me based on your current policies? Majority of them said termination, which then we proposed, what if there could be an alternative to that, right? Especially in situations where those have been valuable employees for maybe a decade, maybe even if it's just a year. I mean, the workforce today, it's tough to find quality employees. And so a lot of the feedback that we got was like, yeah, it would termination. And so I think this is a really good topic for them to maybe take back to their company and go, how long has it been since we visited this policy? And is it time for some kind of change, some reform? So perfect example. One of the places, a lady was very much open to the idea. And she was like, I love that. I've actually worked for a place before who would very discreetly handle this. And we would offer an alternative path. We would, basically offer them some help. And then of course there would be structures and strategic things in place for when they came back.
Sure.
To make sure that they're appropriate.
Right. Make sure the rest of your employees are protected. Make sure the general public is protected. Right.
Right.
Like, okay, you come back to work, you're doing UAs. Great.
Yep.
Lovely. You came back to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that individual on a human being level, he knows that you care. You don't feel disposed of.
Yep.
Right. So instead of spiraling and losing insurance and losing the ability to get some help, they're stuck with nothing, right?
See, I think this is all rooted. If you have something more to say, keep talking. Sorry.
No,
I
go
think
ahead.
I cut you off. I think this is all rooted in the fact that we haven't, as a society, we have not fully accepted the fact that addiction is a disease.
No question.
Right. And there's plenty of arguments out there for why it's not. It is, but there's plenty of arguments for why it's not. I firmly believe it is. Ask an HR director which other disease they fire people for. Because there really isn't one.
Yeah.
There really isn't one. You can fire somebody that can't do their job because they're because they have schizophrenia and they can't seem to function. Okay, but you don't fire them just because they have schizophrenia. It has to have really impacted the performance, where people get fired for having a positive UA with no reports of poor performance.
Right.
So it comes down to, do you believe this is really a medical condition, or do you think these are bad moral people?
Right.
And if you think they're bad moral people, you're going against a whole bunch of evidence, but whatever.
It's been around for a really long time,
Mm-hmm.
like 1953. Yeah.
That's when the AMA called it a disease.
Right. Yep.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's a disease, and you don't fire for any other diseases. Why can't you look at this one and say, why is this one so different?
And Sean, would you say that the people that we talk to, thank you, beautifully said, Doc. Would you say that the people that we talk to maybe were a little uncomfortable about the topic?
I think it's just a new topic for them. They hadn't really considered it before.
Okay.
And I think also when it comes to, the drug and alcohol policy as well, this is not a policy that they're reviewing frequently.
Right.
That's
And
fair.
so even knowing
Right.
that is like, oh gosh, you're bringing, kind of some question and some thought, to me that we don't even kind of give much thought to this. This is,
We literally got the comment a couple times. I don't know. I would have to go
Yeah.
look. Right. So
yeah,
to
and
your
have to
point,
dust it off, right? They'd have to
absolutely.
dust off that section in the policy and be like, oh, what is that? And could we do something to make that be more helpful to the individuals? Because, the percentages say that, any organization of any size has people within that organization that are struggling with substance use. And
For sure.
what does the organization do? And what's the culture that's being created that opens the path, the door for that individual to seek help? Because so many don't talk about their struggle, even when they desperately need to talk with somebody, go to somebody and say, hey, I've got some challenges. I need help. I don't even know where to go. And be able to kind of bring that into an environment where, hey, we've got some resources, we've got some benefits, we've got some programs that we can help connect you to. They don't do that because if I admit to this, I'm going to be blackballed, I'm going to be terminated,
I'm gonna get fired.
Yeah, this is going to have.
It's very fear driven.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let me pause real quick right here and just get the plug out. If you're listening to this and this is interesting to you and you're in an HR position, or if you own a company and you would love to continue this conversation for your agency, reach out. Give us a call, 385-644-1500. I would love to exchange contact information, maybe set an appointment, have me and Sean come in and talk to you and your agency, your HR department, because I really think this is good stuff. One of the places we stopped at today, the individual who we spoke with literally said, oh man, we had a situation where we had a seasoned employee. Correct me if I'm wrong. We had a seasoned employee. He was going through some personal stuff like a divorce, struggled with alcohol abuse, and unfortunately we had to let him go. And he was a really valuable employee. In other words, it would cost us more money to have to go out and find somebody or train somebody or get somebody with the experience that this individual had. And so, yeah, this individual was like, I get it. It makes sense to me, like why there should be like some conversation around this and maybe some things need to change, because maybe that individual, if they were presented with the opportunity to go and get stable emotionally, physically, socially, spiritually, and then reintegrate back into that agency, there's the potential that they could be a really good employee again.
Hi, my name's Jim Huffman. I'm the founder and CEO of Wasatch Crest Treatment Services. We're located in Heber City, Utah, amongst the beautiful Wasatch Mountains. We offer a full continuum of care, and what that means is that, we can support our clients and their families from day one all the way through their entire recovery journey. Our goal here at Wasatch Crest is for this to be your last time in treatment and the beginning of a life in recovery that will bring you joy and fulfillment and a sense of healing to you and your family and to those who love you.
To learn more about Wasatch Crest, call me, Jared, directly at 385-644-1500 and check out the website at wasatchcresttreatment.com. Any other scenarios that we heard of today that kind of pop off the top of your head?
I don't know, in respects to, because so many of them were similar conversations to what you just shared there. But I think also, not only could we potentially be helping that employee get back on track, but the impact that is also doing to that individual in their life that is well beyond just their involvement with their employer. That opportunity that employer might give somebody to be able to get the support, get the help, be able to, get their life back on a better path can have impacts and can have impacts for generations to come. That can certainly be meaningful in their personal relationships, a marriage, parenting, all those kinds of things, which, has significance as, generations to follow on what we do with that individual and how we help them get the help that in many cases they even want. They just don't know where to go or how to ask for it.
Absolutely. From a human standpoint, that makes all the sense in the world. It's also like what's advantageous about it for the employer too, right? And that's typically the lines that they want it, that they're interested in.
I want to go back to the plug you made though, really quickly.
Yeah.
Give out that phone number one more time.
It's 385-644-1500. Very
few, if any, maybe none, HR people are experts in addiction. If there are any, they're a rare breed. They're not supposed to be. Fine, great. If you need help with something, you talk to an expert. Call that phone number. Talk to people about your policies in your company. Talk to people that are specialized in the policy you're considering. So if you're going to want to look at your company's policy, and here's the problem, is addiction is such an uncomfortable subject that people have these policies from the 1950s and the 1960s and the 1970s that they don't review because we don't even like talking about it. We don't want any people with addiction in our company, so we'll just bury our heads in the sand and we won't have any. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to. They want the problem to go away.
And yet little do they know it's already there.
It's there. It's there, and it's going to be there. Even if you discover one person, it's still going to be there. And it's going to be a problem for a long time. I don't see this getting better much anytime soon, right? But yeah, I think it's time for people in HR departments to go back and look at their policies and see if they have some really archaic policies, because most of these things were made based on data and information from a long time ago.
Well, and along that is that a no tolerance policy rarely deters somebody from using. What it does deter is them from seeking help or talking about it.
There's the problem,
being honest
right?
about it.
It's the fact that I could get fired if I bring this up keeps them quiet.
Yep.
If they know they're going to be met with compassion, they might speak up.
And organizations that have created that culture, and even then because oftentimes within an organization, those that are in recovery are like, I'd be more than happy to share my story. I would love to kind of just, talk and share about, my journey and how I overcame this and how supportive and helpful that can be to others who are also trying to figure out, how do I get through this? And then when they hear from a coworker that, hey, I was once in a situation, and let me tell you kind of what it took and the support that I found and those that were rallying around me and how I was able to change my life or overcome this, this aspect that was causing me so much pain. How powerful that can be.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you've got these organizations that are thriving in every aspect, and people are really like, you know what, this fills, and I'm so grateful for my employer and what it's doing for me and kind of to the larger picture to my family as well.
Yeah, and just that humanistic perspective of creating that culture where, we're all human. We struggle with a lot of different stuff. If you're struggling with substance abuse, yeah, like let's talk about it. It's way better than this whole cat and mouse game that employers have been playing for a really long time. One of the coolest things that I took out of the last couple days I spent with Sean was one of the places we stopped in at, and we talked with one of the gentlemen. He mentioned that kind of in passing, one of their employees dropped some clean time, sobriety. There was a significant amount of sobriety time. It was like a decade. And he got with the other people in the office, and these are normies, man. These are people that don't know this thing, and they're like, we feel like we should kind of celebrate this thing. Let's get her a cake, and then they sing happy birthday to her. And I almost, as I'm sitting in the office hearing this, I almost like started getting emotional, because I'm like, how cool is that? How cool is that? It made me think of a personal story like you shared, Doc. My brother, I lost my brother to this disease, and I shared with Sean while we were out, he was a very skilled electrician. And frankly, he had, some interpersonal relationship stuff, and he found comfort in a bottle of alcohol. Not a very uncommon story. And before he knew it, he got let go of a job that he'd been with for 2 decades. And then he struggled to find employment thereafter, right? It was a vicious cycle. And I heard an individual at his funeral share with my mom, the owner of the company, I've really been thinking about this. And from a business standpoint, I felt like this was kind of what I had to do. And in hindsight, it would have cost me way less money to pull Jason in and say, hey, man, I love you. I know that you're going through a hard time. You're showing up inappropriate to work. Let's get you some help. Versus going out and finding, he flat out said, I had to hire 3 guys to run the crews that Jason was running. You know, so even whether you look at it from a humanistic standpoint, right. Of like, that's a life. That's a guy who had 3 kids. That's a guy who had a wife. That's a guy who had a brother that loved him dearly. That's a guy who had a mom that loved him dearly, right? Or whether you look at it from the X's and O's of being a business owner, what's it going to cost you to replace that individual instead of giving them some FMLA, allowing them some time to go through what they need to go through, being very transparent about the transition back, and giving it a shot? We're not talking about 4 or 5 times, even just once.
Right.
The power that could have for that individual.
Yeah, I think business people would agree with, and I'm not a business person, but would agree with the adage that it's always cheaper to keep staff than it is to hire new staff.
Yeah.
It's always cheaper to keep your staff. And so, yeah, companies will benefit as well. It's not just the employee. The employee benefits because he thinks his company loves him and cares about him.
Well, then the loyalty.
Right.
Yeah.
But the company also benefits because they get a guy that knows how to do the job, that's been doing it, and he's going to get better at it even.
No question. No question.
And sometimes companies too look at this from a perspective of, well, we have this policy, but sometimes aren't thinking of it from the perspective of, what if we have really seasoned employees that violate this policy? Right. Oftentimes it's like, yeah, oh, it's the entry level person. It's the one, we can replace that person, tomorrow. It's when all of a sudden, this is a key leader in our organization, or, this is an OBGYN that's a partner within this program, this clinic. And that's when it's like, that's not often thought about. And over the years, I've also talked with employers that are like, okay, this is our policy. We can't implement the policy with this individual.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother thing. And that's where, with all of this, and again, the culture, you want to be fair and equal with everybody, no matter what position they hold. And so how much more incredible it can be that you have a process in place that helps and supports everyone and gives everybody that chance and gives them that chance to head on to a path. And again, as you said, Jared, it's not, well, if they're not going to take the opportunity, if they're not going to take that chance, yeah, I mean, they probably are going to need to be removed from that employment. But what if we gave them that chance and they take it and they change their life and they're able to continue to be that valuable employee, and the loyalty that they then continue with to that organization. And oftentimes it's like, this company not only saved my job, it saved my marriage, it saved my family, it saved so many things. Because when a person's terminated from employment, it's, and yeah, you might be like, well, they deserve it. Well, their family didn't deserve it. Unfortunately, they're experiencing it too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well said.
It's a great point.
Well said.
So we've made developing an app very affordable, and we do it really quick.
We are the only mobile app development company in the behavioral health space, and the only constant throughout a client's entire life cycle, from pre-admissions to 10 years sober.
Now with new technology, we can develop a high-quality app in a fraction of the time. Now that we've done this with hundreds of partners all across the country, we can get this done within 6 weeks. An hour of your time is all it requires per week over that time, and just like that, your app's done. Developed on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
On the front end, we know we can help increase conversions. While the patient's with you, we work on retention and engagement, and moving on into post-treatment, we collect a lot of readmissions and referrals.
Get your agency an app. Give them a call at 866-824-2281 or visit their website at teamrecovery.io.
And you'll have a walking billboard for your company.
For sure.
I mean, you can't pay for that kind of advertising, right?
And we did run into some situations that it was just like, yeah, no question. It makes sense that, for like, I won't say the name of the company, but in a truck driving industry,
Sure.
like, unfortunately in that realm, there is a process. In fact, Sean, he's a SAP, substance abuse professional. Thank you. I'm like, come on, give it to me. Right. He's a substance abuse professional. He works with the DOT, Department of Transportation. Right. And so there is kind of a path there, but sure, I get it. There are some places where you've got to be a little bit more careful. Right. And maybe in some situations, it doesn't make sense from a liability standpoint to have a gray area or a different option. But I think those are few and far between.
So let me tell you a group that's really dealt with this a lot, that has really interesting policies in place, is the FAA. Pilots. Pilots are dealt with a lot differently sometimes than any other profession.
An electrician.
Yes. Right. You can't have the guy in charge of 300 people on your plane drunk. He can't be drunk, right? So you do have to remove him from his duties. But the FAA has done a really nice job of making sure their employees, if they turn out to have a problem with substances, that their employees all get treatment, that they get monitored. The stakes are so high. I mean, it takes a long time to become a pilot. It's a lot of work to become a pilot, and it's a lot of responsibility. And the FAA, I've worked with a number of them. There was a place where I worked up in Salt Lake that had a contract with the FAA, and the FAA I thought their policies were great. They have somewhat higher success rates than most other professions because of the policies they have in place to help their employees.
Well, and those policies you mentioned with the FAA essentially can be implemented into any organization or something very similar to that. And so, yeah, there is a process, and there is checks and balances, so to speak, on, how you would return that individual into a safety sensitive job function.
Right.
And, within the FAA and many other industries too that fall under DOT guidelines, if somebody has a violation, they are immediately removed from a safety sensitive position.
Right.
And the only way they can be put back into that safety sensitive role is that they have completed and have an ongoing follow-up procedure in place. But, even if you don't fall under DOT guidelines, any organization can implement something like that. And certainly if they call that, we could help them know how to do that or how to look at that. And another important part of this isn't new. And there's many organizations that have implemented these types of things, and many organizations that are right here, kind of in our area that we're working, that are doing some really cool things and have created a culture and continue to work on creating a culture that really is supportive of anyone, no matter what their struggles, challenges.
No question.
Absolutely. And that blueprint, right? Like, it's out there. You don't got to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
No.
And the thing I love about hanging out with Sean and going around doing these places is this guy offers all kinds of stuff. He'll do, trainings with them, whether that's DOT trainings for, reasonable suspicion, whether that's, all kinds of stuff. And to your point, it wouldn't, if an organization reached out and said, hey, we like it, we've talked about it, where do we go? How do we do this? Very easily, we could take the blueprint of the airlines and implement something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. The FAA has been doing this really well for a long time.
I think they're also, like medical professionals, there's a route too.
Absolutely. And I've been through that route, as you know.
You don't say.
I didn't walk through it completely willingly. I was drugged through it, kicking and screaming most of the time. But I've been through that route, and honestly, and I say this with all sincerity, they saved my life. There's no question.
I was just going to ask, how many years do you have now?
22, and
did something right.
Had it not been for the Division of Professional Licensing, I could have died or killed somebody. And I didn't always appreciate what they were doing for me at the time. But in retrospect, yeah, they absolutely saved my life. And they saved my family. No question. And I'm grateful for them for that.
I love it, man. I can see the emotion in your face.
Yeah, listen, they did. There's no question in my mind.
And that's why I feel like this is so important. Really. Yeah.
Well, think about everyone has this in their job, right? But Physicians do, at least to a pretty good degree, not necessarily more than anybody else, but I spent a lot of time trying to become a physician. It took me a long time to get there.
Yeah.
Right. And to have thrown all that away because I responded poorly to how I treated migraines. That could have been really harsh, but no, the Division of Professional Licensing allowed me. Now I couldn't keep working right away because it was Sean's got all the language, by the way.
He's great at it.
No question. He's been doing this for a while.
Yeah, he has, boy.
But a safety sensitive situation.
Yeah.
The public safety needed to be taken care of at that point. It turns out you don't want your doctor operating on you to be high for some reason. So I was removed from that. Okay. But it wasn't taken away completely. It was suspended temporarily for a time that it needed to be suspended for.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that they did it that way. And I'm grateful I can still practice medicine today. Yeah. I didn't have to give that all away.
Yeah. And I like what you said too, that, you didn't like what they were requiring of you.
Kicking and screaming.
And that's, that might be the case, but how grateful you are now looking back that they did that and that your life is what it has become versus what it potentially would have been if they just said, nope, you're done. You know what? All those years of training, study, you cannot, too bad. Yeah. And go find something else.
Yep. Go hang drywall.
Yep.
Can you imagine me hanging drywall? Man. That would be kicking and screaming right there.
Oh, man. I can, and it's kind of fun in my head.
Yeah. I'm glad I could paint that picture for you.
In all your cute little golf outfits, you just show up to work.
Yeah.
And
you think those construction guys...
With the nail gun on and... Oh, dude, it would be great.
You think I'd fit in there?
Somebody use AI and send us an image of Terry hanging drywall in his pink flamingo golf outfits.
Yeah, that'd go over really well.
That needs to be the no clip of this episode right there. I tell you what. He said he's going to do it. I heard he's going to do it. Blake's going to do it
right there.
Yeah. This has been good stuff, man. Yeah. Sean, anything else that you kind of want to share? We got a little bit of time here left. I feel like we have driven this idea home. And also, like, if somebody's listening to this and they're interested in trainings, more information, because you're not like a guy that's going around other treatment centers and saying, hey, send me the guy that you kick out, right? Like, you're doing this at a very high level. And frankly, deserving so. You're a professional guy. Very, like Seller said, you got all the sexy language. How do people get a hold of you? What, either phone or email? What are you comfortable with that if somebody's listening to this and they're in friggin' New Jersey, because we have listeners all across the United States, how do they get a hold of you?
Sure, they can call me on 801-971-4401, and I'm happy to talk and share, the best I can, or answer questions regarding any of this. But, and employers really have such an awesome opportunity, because all of us need jobs, unless we lucked out somehow. Otherwise, we all need jobs. And, we're going to work every day, but we're also bringing our life into those offices or those work environments every day. And there's just a lot of things that obviously that individual is contributing to the company, but there's a lot of things that the company's making possible for that individual. And, when that support can be there, and not only the support of helping get people headed in the right direction where they can overcome challenges they might be facing and come back, but also then how we celebrate them coming back. I've talked with organizations before that are like, well, if somebody came back and succeeded with treatment or on a different path, what do we say? Now, I get that this should be confidential and very few people should even know unless they themselves have shared it with others. But for those who do know, I've had them say, well, what do we say when somebody comes back? I said, well, what would you say if somebody came back from being out for a surgery or being out from some other treatment?
Exactly.
And they're like, well, we would just say, it's so good to see you. And we're so glad you're back. And what can we do to support you? And how can we continue to be helpful to you? That'd probably be the same thing to say, just say that. And it's like, beautiful. And it was funny as I said that, some of those people are like, oh, yeah, it's that easy. Yeah, it is.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah. But because, and I think Dr. Soes, you said this earlier, there's this stigma still, and there's this discomfort around these kinds of struggles with mental health, substance use. And it's like, we get kind of, nervous about, well, how do we approach this stuff in comparison to all these other things that we seem much more comfortable with? And when we can continue to work, and I think that's why this podcast and all these different things that are happening out there to try to reduce the stigma is just powerful and has a real impact. And mental health has one level of stigma, but substance use even more significant. So.
Absolutely.
Sure.
In fact, I shared that today at lunch with the guy, it's like, let me help you, right? Like, help me help you. For a lot of people, this isn't dinner conversation.
Right.
Like
we're afraid of the conversation.
It's not,
sure.
right? And like I shared with him, this is literally like you talking to your buddy about the football game last night. I do this every day, all day. So I have no problem coming in, sitting down. I'm sure Sean feels the same way. You would feel the same way.
Right.
This is kind of what we do, right? We would not have a problem coming in and sitting across the table from somebody and saying, hey, let's talk about where we go from here. Yeah. Do you want to retain your job? Yeah. Your employer's offering a solution. Would you like to accept that solution? What does that look like? Let me tell you what that looks like. Right. And having those conversations to where you don't have to pay us, right? We already work for an employer that it has enough vision to see that this is something that needs to happen. Cool. And we'll come in and provide that consultation. So
I want to give Sean kudos for being brave enough to give his cell phone number out online. What if both of our listeners call him at the same time? He'll never survive it.
You cracked that joke, but I got to show you the downloads, man. We do okay. Yeah. Anything else that you wanted to share, Sean?
Gosh,
this has been a good topic, though.
Yeah,
honestly,
shared.
It's just a topic that companies don't even think about very much.
Oh yeah, you know how many puzzled looks we got today?
Yeah, I'll bet you guys went in and asked questions, and then I haven't even thought about that policy for 100 years.
Yeah, and I jokingly said to the
even
last
if they've
guy,
had somebody come under the policy, they don't think about it. They just automatically do the policy came as a result of a knee-jerk reaction, and then they implement the policy, and then they follow it as a knee-jerk reaction. Well, we know what we do. We kick them out. See ya. Bye.
Yep.
Yeah,
because they're more comfortable having that conversation than they are having the conversation of, hey, man, I know you got a problem.
Like you got a problem.
Let's talk about how we can help it with the solution.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is great because then it provides space for guys like us to come in and be able to have those conversations and work that stuff out.
Yeah.
Oh man, I had a thought.
Uh-oh.
And then it went.
It's the first time in a year.
I was going to talk about this. What we're essentially really talking about is recovery capital. One of the things, being a clinical guy and working with clients for years, one of the things that you really take a look at is how much recovery capital does this individual have? Well, what does that mean? What that means is, do they have a place to live? Do they have a family to return home to? Do they have employment to return home to? Do they have transportation? Do they have, right? There's a list of things that to a lot of us, we take for granted those things. And a big part of catching this before it becomes Joe who's, living out of a tent on the side of the street is catching it while they still have quite a bit of recovery capital to be able to make it back. Yeah. I don't know where you want to go from there, but that's what was on my brain.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Sean, I appreciate you coming and
thanks.
Being willing to come on the podcast today. The last couple of days have been really fun, really cool to kind of
has been fun.
See your world and see what you do.
Hey, before we wrap up, May 28th.
Oh yeah.
Give me just tell our listeners what's going to be happening. Is it going to be happening in Park City?
In Park City.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did we almost forget that?
Just give us a brief, what's going on there?
Yeah, so through an organization called Summit Support, they've pulled together, that's a nonprofit that's pulled together different organizations to help promote mental health and substance use, particularly focusing on the month of May. And so they've had several different events, or will continue to have several events throughout the month. And on May 28th, we're going to have a presentation with a panel. Dr. Sellers, thank you for your willingness to participate and be a part of that. And we're going to talk about this whole, political and confusing and dynamic thing around marijuana use.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
It's one of my favorite topics, actually.
All right.
I love it.
You can
I'm
say
just
it.
happy because I connected the two of you.
Th-
and
thank you.
When he talked about
thank
it,
you, by the way, because
I'm
I
like,
love doing those things.
we did an episode
Right.
called "Is Weed the New Oxy?"
Right.
And just some of the stuff that came out
Right.
of that article,
Right.
right, was like mind blowing.
What's the number one thing that you remember from that article?
The number one thing that I remember is basically kind of the same.
Sorry if I put you on the spot.
No, you're good. The same funding sources that were behind big tobacco, then moved to the pharmaceutical, now are moving to marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just crazy to me because every one of those had the same narrative, the same theme, right? Like, oh, cigarettes, it's not going to, right? It's cool. It's popular. It's, in all the celebrity movies and then transforms a little bit. And now it's, oh, Oxycontin. It's non-addictive. It's do, right? And then transform marijuana. It's medical. It's
Right.
And the other thing too that I pulled away from that is the stuff that's in those shops is not the stuff that your grandparents was smoking.
Thank you. That's my takeaway, was really how back when I was in high school, people were smoking 3% THC, right? And the stuff that people can get today can be 95% THC. Like, it's not the same stuff at all. And it's being treated a lot like, I just read an article yesterday where the nicotine content in vapes has been creeping up recently. And it's the same thing with THC. The concentration of THC they're getting out of some of these products. The plants are way more potent through genetic alterations and modifications, but it's not even just the plants. It's after that, then they boil them down and they turn them into resins and they turn them into wax and those things are incredibly high THC content. And it's not the same stuff that kids when I went to high school were using at all.
I would say in the last year of working in the clinical space as a clinical director, we would have clients that would come in psychosis.
Mm-hmm.
And typically that's methamphetamine use.
Right. That's the first thing you think of all the time.
The majority of the clients that recently in the past year that came in psychosis, the only thing that their UA tested positive for was marijuana, THC.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's because it's such high amounts that it's no longer just to get stoned. It can turn into hallucinogenic properties.
Right.
Which is scary.
There are definitely cases of, we've got way off topic here, sorry, but there are definitely cases of people becoming permanently psychotic from marijuana. And it's because of the concentrations, really.
Yeah. Yep. That's cool that you guys are going to be able to talk about that at the summit.
I love that.
And do you have people to kind of argue the other side of that?
Yeah, I think he does, don't you? Do you have
anybody that's going to be
opposite side of, because
go to IndyMed. We passed IndyMed in Hurricane, right? And get the owner of IndyMed to come in and share his thoughts.
I'm an anti-marijuana guy. If you need a pro-marijuana person, I got somebody for you.
That might be fun to have a little debate, and as long as you don't throw anything at him, Sellers,
Oh, I might.
Well, that's exciting for the two of you. I'll be in California.
Oh, shoot.
I'm going to West Coast Symposium. I'm not quite sure when this is going to come out. Yes.
West Coast is fun. Go play that golf course.
Oh, I'm playing, baby.
Yeah, it's
not
fun.
only that, but Jim got offered by the CEO of Kipu to do like some leadership race car thing. And so I'm going to be riding in like an Indy 500 race car, baby.
Oh.
He passed it on to me. He's like,
living the high life.
Well, listen, the truth is I read the email. He sent it to me and I replied and said, I would love to stand in for Jim if you would allow that. And the CEO of Kipu was like, yeah, great. Click on this link and get registered for it. So I'm going to be golfing one day, driving in an Indy 500 car the next, and hopefully making some connections. Yeah.
This is what recovery has brought you.
But also listen, the places that I really want to connect with, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, Nevada. If you have a treatment center in Wyoming, Idaho, Colorado, Nevada, did I get them all the second time around?
I think so.
Reach out to me. I would love to connect.
New Mexico, though. Do you hate New Mexico?
It's just a really far drive geographically, right? Like we're located. Okay. So if you're in any one of those states and you're going to the West Coast and you hear this in time, get a hold of me. Reach out. Let's connect. I'd love to take you to lunch, grab a coffee in between sessions, chit chat. I'd love to connect with some of those people and really expand geographically where it makes the most sense for Wasatch Crest. Yeah.
Go do that. There's a lot of connections there.
Yeah, I'm excited.
West
It's gonna be
Coast fun symposium for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Sean, final thought. Take us out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wisdom. Leave us with some Sean wisdom.
Oh gosh, I'm still trying to figure out over the time I started here to give some wisdom. So I don't know how to end with some wisdom. But I think just back to what we talked about throughout this is there are alternative ways of looking at different things and see what we can do to help people and be able to give them a chance to succeed and overcome challenges in their life, which there's lots of different challenges, and let's find a way to support people with all different obstacles they're facing.
I think that's beautiful.
Mic drop.
Yep.
Hashtag Sean Morris.
Yep. Thanks for being on the podcast. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sean Morris, Wasatch Crest. Jared Miller, Wasatch Crest. Terry Sellers.
Independent contractor.
Weirdo.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Hey, we really appreciate your support. Send this out. Help us grow this podcast. For those of you that are listening out of state, we really thank you. I see it pop up on the little map all the time. And yeah, hopefully send us some ideas if you want to hear some content or you have a guest that you'd like to. And
yeah, we appreciate that feedback.
Yeah, more interaction, the better. Yeah. Thank you guys. It's been great. Thanks, Doc. Thanks, Sean.